Okay, so once again, we are finally here. 2022 NASCAR Cup Series playoff predictions. Or at least my take on how these playoffs are gonna go, you know the drill. Let me preface by saying this. This is by far the toughest and most difficult playoff predictions I've ever tried to do, basically, ever since I started doing these playoff predictions, like 2 years ago. These are the toughest I've ever had to make. I had to think really hard and and long about it. And this is also like the first time I ever consider like the order of races. Like, for example, okay, this round we're going to Darlington, Kansas, Bristol. Okay, round of 12. This is Texas, Talladega, Charlotte, Roval. I never did this with my previous playoff predictions because I didn't think they were pretty straightforward. But now I feel like with how much parity there is on the next gen or Gen 7 car, whatever you want to call it, giving us like a much more level playing field. I feel like these playoffs could go they could go like a lot of different ways. Especially, after the first seed, after the regular season champion, if you look at second on back, it's pretty much close. Like, being the second seed in this year's playoffs, it doesn't mean anything because they are so bunched up together. We had 16 different winners. Well, I mean, 15 qualifying to the playoffs because Kurt Busch, obviously. It looks like he will be missing the rest of the season, unfortunately, due to his concussion. But, get well soon, Kurt. We miss you out on the track, and that's besides the point. We gotta start. Okay, round of 16. For the round of 16, we have Darlington, Kansas, and Bristol. And I think let's start weeding out like some of the quote-unquote like guys that have the least amount of playoff points, because I think this is how it's gonna go with how much these things are bunched together. Immediately, I think Austin Dillon will be eliminated. Now, granted, I think this might be a surprise to all of you. I'm not saying this because he locked himself into the playoffs at Daytona, but because if you look at his stats in the season, he had the same average finish as Tyler Reddick. He had the same amount of top fives as Truex, the guy that he eliminated, that he knocked off the playoffs with his Daytona win. So he is actually good when he finishes races. The thing is, however, Austin Dillon has been uncharacteristically inconsistent this season. He's gotten involved in a bunch of crashes, a bunch of DNFs he's got there. Yes, it's far removed from his usual, finish mid-pack and keep it in one piece approach. But it's also shown, I believe this is his career high in top fives. He's already posted his career high in top fives this season, I believe. That being said, he has a real chance of making it to round of 12. However, once again, strength of the playoff field, also the fact that his inconsistency was what had him like around 19, 20 points all of the regular season. And once again, with how close this playoff field is, one bad race can pretty much end your entire season. So, let's see here. Next guy I'm eliminating is Austin Cindric. Once again, this one is similar to Austin Dillon. Cindric has been hovering outside of the Daytona win. Cindric has been, inconsistent. He got a little bit of momentum in the summer, but at the end of the day, what's really gonna be his undoing is gonna be like his lack of playoff experience. I still believe he exceeded my expectations though, because I thought he was gonna lock himself in on points. I didn't have him winning a race, much less the Daytona 500. And I also thought his first career win would be at a road course. So, Cindric has definitely surprised me, and he actually finished. I believe he finished around top 16 in regular season standings. Yeah, definitely. Cindric has been, quite a little bit of a surprise, a low-key driver this season, but in the end, lack of playoff experience is really going to hurt him. Another guy that's really gonna be affected, that's largely on the same boat as Cindric, I believe it's Chase Briscoe. He started off the season really hot, but then he cooled off as the summer stretch rolled off. Yeah, I feel I'm not that confident on Briscoe heading into this playoff. And you know, for much of the earlier portion of the regular season, we actually thought, hey, maybe Briscoe is actually the best Stewart-Haas Racing driver. Maybe he will be the next guy up at SHR, and now, as the summer stretch rolled up, we just realized, nope, that's just not the case anymore, or at least not the case yet. But Briscoe's definitely on the way up, but he's still's got a few ways to go. And the final guy I got eliminated, and you know, this is gonna be kind of a bold prediction, maybe not, depending on who you ask, but the guy I got eliminated in the round of 16 is Alex Bowman. Bowman, similar to, you know, Briscoe, he started off the regular season really strong. For a moment we thought, you know, Bowman was definitely one of the more surprising drivers to me, not in the sense of he was, you know, competing for wins, because he wasn't, but he was surprising in the sense of he was actually consistent, and this is something we didn't see from him last season. At least that seemed to be the case for the first part of the regular season. Then the second half of the regular season struck, and he not only did he regress back to the mean, he also hit a slump. And you know, the summer stretch this season really hit a ton of drivers hard, but I believe Bowman was the guy who got hit the hardest, after Kyle Busch, of course. And again, lack of playoff points is definitely gonna hurt him in these playoffs. Again, the lack of playoff points is really gonna hurt a ton of drivers, but I believe, you know, Bowman and his lack of consistency and, you know, pretty much momentum heading into these playoffs in general. Yeah, I don't have much trust in him. Maybe he can sneak his way into round of 12, but that's about it. Okay, so moving into round of 12, we have, aka the Chaos round. We got Texas, Talladega, the Charlotte Roval. Yeah, William Byron is definitely getting eliminated in this round. You know, when you look at Byron's stats, you will immediately say, yeah, he doesn't have any momentum. He hasn't finished in the top 10 in what, forever it seems like. He's got 2 wins, but he got them like in the first 8 races. He was the first multi-time winner this season, I believe. Let me see. Yeah, I think he was. He was the first multi-time winner this season. And he hasn't won ever since. He won 2 of the first 8 races, and after that, he has pretty much struggled finding the top 10. So, all of this screams round of 16 exit. However, I think that Byron, and you could pretty much have a case for Byron being eliminated and Bowman advancing it. But in my opinion, I think those playoff points are really going to save Byron. And they're going to keep him. And they're going to keep him afloat at least until the round of 12. I could be wrong though, because Byron, he has historically struggled in the round of 16. I mean, in 2020 he got eliminated, and it wasn't even close that he wasn't gonna advance. Then in 2021, he went through hell on that round of 16, and he just barely advanced. And yeah, I think this is gonna be a similar case. I think he's going to advance on playoff points alone. I don't think his finishes are going to be decent, but what's really going to carry him through that run are going to be his playoff points. Round of 12, I don't think that's going to be the case. And I think this is where his journey ends. Daniel Suarez, I also think his journey is going to end here in the round of 12. You know, a lot of people are saying that Suarez is going to be eliminated in the round of 16. I really don't think so. I think Suarez has, you know, can be a surprising... he has been a surprising driver this season, more of the, you know, low-key surprises. And I think he still has a long ways to go. And don't even be surprised, because if he advances to round of 12, he has a chance to lock himself into a round of 8 too, through winning the Charlotte Roval, because he has shown to have a knack for the bigger, not only for the bigger tracks like Pocono, but also on road courses. he's shown that he can really, that he does really have what it takes to get a win out there and surprise a ton of people out there. But still, I think that's maybe a bit of a reach. Maybe Suarez gets eliminated round of 16, maybe not. But I know more likely than not, his playoff run is gonna end at the round of 12. Kyle Busch is also another guy that I think is gonna be eliminated in the round of 12. You could also say maybe he will be out in the round of 16, but at least I don't think so. I think Kyle is gonna hold on for as long as he humanly can, and I think he's gonna get out of the round of 16. Darlington, he's very hit or miss at Darlington, but Kansas is a decent track for him. Bristol is a great track for him. So I definitely have him. Making it out of the round 16, but round of 12, I think the season is gonna be a lot like 2020, where he makes it out of the round 16, but then round of 12 he struggles a lot. One thing I've seen a lot with Kyle is that he struggles a lot with this wild card tracks like Talladega, the Charlotte Roval. Sometimes he may run well, sometimes he may be involved in a crash and not get the finish that a lot of people thought he deserved. But that's just how it goes. This 2022 season has been a lot of pain for us Kyle Busch fans. So round of 12, I don't expect any much from Kyle Busch other than a round of 12 exit. Although, knowing how his season has gone, round of 16 exit wouldn't surprise me either. It's just been rough. And the last playoff spot, I think it's gonna go down between Christopher Bell and Tyler Reddick. One of these guys is gonna advance to round of 8, I feel like. And this was really tough for me because Christopher Bell, he's been the most consistent guy, more consistent than Reddick. Matter of fact, you can make a case that Christopher Bell has been the best driver at Joe Gibbs Racing, consistency-wise at least, because, Kyle Busch started the season off hot and then he got into the biggest summer slump of his career, or biggest slump of his career in general. Hamlin has been pretty hit or miss. Truex was the most consistent, but he missed the playoffs because he didn't win a race. So, at least of all the 3 Gibbs drivers that are in the playoff, Bell is the most consistent. That being said, Tyler Reddick, this is the round of the Charlotte Roval. The round of 12 is the round of the Charlotte Roval, and even if Reddick doesn't win, he can score some massive stage points and get a pretty good finish for him to lock himself in the round of 8. And I think that's what's gonna happen, because Christopher Bell, I just don't know if he is, like, when I look at his Charlotte Roval stats, they seem like pretty blasé. In the case of Reddick, he finished second at the Roval last year, and he has shown his 2 career wins in Cup, they have come at road courses. And he has shown to be the one guy that can actually give the road course king, Chase Elliott, a big fight. Well, outside of Larson at Watkins Glen, but that's Larson because Larson is only good at Watkins Glen, it seems like. But in road courses in general, I'll give Tyler Reddick Tyler Reddick is the best driver that can give Chase Elliott a fair fight. And not only that, he is also the driver that I think will win at the Charlotte Roval, or at the very least will be a contender. I'm still on the fence about him or Elliott winning that race, but I think my point stays. I think Tyler Reddick will make it to round of 8 solely out of his performance at the Charlotte Roval. I think he's gonna eliminate Bell from the playoffs because of the Charlotte Roval. And now we get into round of 8, and I'm not gonna lie, this is where it gets a little bit tough, but I actually have a bold prediction here that may not seem bold to some people, but you'll understand where I'm coming from. And this should be pretty obvious where I'm going with this. So anyways, yeah, Tyler Reddick is not making it to the championship 4. As great things I said about Tyler Reddick, I think his journey ends in round of 8. It's still not a loss though. I mean, going from a round of 16 exit in the first round to winning his two career races, becoming the breakout driver this season, and winning 2 races and locking himself into the playoffs. For him to end his journey in the round of 8, that is amazing. So there's nothing to be ashamed about. It's just that the playoff field, when you look at a lot of these guys that he's going up against, yeah, he's just not going there. Ryan Blaney. Blaney, in my opinion, is one of, if not the biggest wild card this season. I have him out in the round of 8 simply because, you know, he has a knack for getting, you know, a lot of stage points and good points days. I actually had him early in the season as one of my early Championship 4 guys, but as the season went on and, you know, he was unable to get the job done and win a race, I started losing faith in him. And again, despite not winning a race, he got a bunch of playoff points to fall back on. And even if he's not winning, he's at the very least finishing top 5 or top 10, so that counts for something. That will be able to carry him along around like the first 2 rounds or so, but not in the round of 8. I think if he doesn't win a race by then, I don't think he's making it to the Championship 4. I don't think he's not a threat. Whether Blaney is a threat or not depends on whether he can win a race during the playoffs or not. If he doesn't, then I don't think he makes the Championship 4. If he does, then you know how this season goes. One win can change your entire season. Just look what happened with Harvick, look what happened with Hamlin. All it takes is for Blaney to win 1 race and he's in contention automatically. But as far as it goes, I don't know if he can get the job done. Maybe he finishes this season winless, who knows. It's still tough for me to think about that, but it's just that Blaney hasn't been able to get the job done. So, anyways. And now here we go for the fun part. You will notice that, you know, the Championship 4 right here, it should be pretty obvious by this point to you. But if not, they're gonna help you. I think Denny Hamlin and Ross Chastain are gonna take each other out. This is gonna happen at Martinsville because what other track will it be? But I think they're gonna get in some huge fight and they will not make it to the Championship 4. Neither of them will make it to the Championship 4. I think Hamlin and Chastain would take each other out and they're not gonna make it to the Championship 4. And the way it's gonna happen is it's gonna be like it's always been. You know, Chastain tries to, you know, race Hamlin hard. Then eventually he, you know, pushes the boundaries, an incident happens, and then Hamlin, because now it's the playoffs, Hamlin is pissed off and he decides, okay, it's payback time. And he takes Chastain out, but he also takes himself out, and both of them don't advance to the Championship 4. Now, originally I had Hamlin out in the round of 12 because of his inconsistency. Like Blaney, Hamlin is a big wild card because while he has shown that he can compete for wins, he always, either him or his pit crew, it doesn't matter who it is, but he always has to shoot himself in the foot for some reason. And because of that, he's only able to win 2 races when, you know, arguably he should have won like, you know, around 4 or 5 races, maybe I'm just exaggerating, but Hamlin has been better. Hamlin has been running better this season than the stats would suggest. It's just that he's got so much bad luck and some of that has also been self-inflicted. But at the end of the day, when I look at his summer stretch, he kind of got some momentum heading into these playoffs. Like he got a few good runs. He's strung together a few good runs at Michigan and Richmond. You know, back-to-back top 5 runs, like towards the end of the regular season. And again, like I said, in this Gen 7 era, momentum is everything. So, you know, I originally had Hamlin out in the round of 12, but now that he got some momentum and he got some massive playoff points to fall back on too, I think that's gonna be enough for him to propel him into a round of 8. But then at the end, you know, he's always gonna get some mental block. He's gonna try and get Chastain out of the way. And yeah, you know what it says. Chastain, in my opinion, is living rent-free in Hamlin's head. So well, it's gonna be really fun to see, you know, following that storyline, how it's gonna go. My take on this is, I think it's gonna end with both Hamlin and Chastain not making the championship 4. And that's about it. And we go to the championship 4. This leaves us with Chase Elliott, Joey Logano, Kyle Larson, and Kevin Harvick. And, you know, the more I think about it, the more I think this is going to be a great, this is like a pretty solid lineup. Because you got the regular season champion, Chase Elliott, Joey Logano, who seems to make the championship 4 once every 2 years. And, you know, some people may think it's a joke, you know, 22 and 22 and stuff like that. But Logano has actually been solid this regular season. He finished 2nd in regular season standings. And he won a bunch of stages and got 2 wins. He's got a bunch of playoff points. He enters this season as a 2nd seed in the playoffs. And I think he can make it to the championship 4 without winning a race. I think he will make it on points. He won't win a race like he did at Martinsville in 2018. He won't gonna do it like Kansas in 2020. He's going to point himself into the championship 4. You know, some of that is gonna be held by these two fighting each other, but I think it's plausible. Then you got Larson, you know, defending series champion, the defending series champion making it to the championship 4 the next year. You know, this is always a trend that I try to keep. Larson has been pretty good this season, if, you know, a bit inconsistent, but when he runs well, he runs damn well. So yeah, and finally we got Harvick, which his season, throughout the first 22 races of the regular season, he was dead in the water. And 2 weeks later, he's got back-to-back wins, and he has now poised himself with a lot of momentum into these playoffs, and he's also made his way into the championship 4. And he could also, in my opinion, he has enough momentum to make it into the championship 4. And again, that's crazy because the revival of Kevin Harvick was one of the biggest like storylines that came out of nowhere. And, you know, for all of this talk about Harvick retiring in 2023, I always said it myself. I always had this take about Harvick that if he wins a race and if he does well in this 2022 season, I think he's gonna stay past 2023. And, you know, a lot of people laughed at me for saying that. You know, a lot of people thought, hey, Harvick has already said several times that he's going to retire in 2023. Well, look what happened with Eric Almirola. He said he was gonna retire this season, and then he signed a multi-year deal to stay in the tank car for at least, you know, 2 more years. Who knows what's gonna happen with Harvick? Maybe this season. I always said it myself that this season was gonna be pivotal in determining whether Harvick was gonna retire next season or not. I think he's gonna stay. I think he's gonna race past 2023, especially if he makes it to the championship 4, because, you know, Harvick is gonna look like he's gonna look at this season and say, wow, we went through a lot of adversity, we broke our winless streak, we even managed to compete for a championship, and even if we didn't win it, we still made it pretty damn close. That was a great bounce back from, you know, 2021. So, you know, do I think Harvick's gonna win the title? No. Even if the race is at Phoenix, he's not the Cactus King that he was before. He's gonna run top 5, sure. But he is not the dominant force that he was back in the 2010s. So Larson, you know, defending series champion, he will put up quite his own fight at Phoenix, but Phoenix is not one of his strong tracks. You gotta understand that. Larson's effort in 2021 was amazing, but Phoenix is not one of his worst tracks. It's not his worst, but it's not his best track either. So I don't think he's gonna win, and also the fact that he's kind of, you know, been a bit more inconsistent than his 2021 self, because that's another thing. Larson was winning a bunch of races last season, but he was also consistent. When he wasn't winning, he wasn't running in the. He was at the very least finishing either 2nd or running top 5. While we're seeing some of that, we're also seeing a lot of Larson, you know, overdriving it. And this is part of, you know, the Gen 7 car being harder to drive. You know, Larson overdrives the car, and you know, he can get himself in some trouble. But I think he's still gonna make it to the championship 4. He's a defending series champion. He knows what it takes to get there. but I don't think he's winning the title either. This title is gonna come down to Logano and Chase Elliott. And you know, as much trust as I have in Logano, Elliott has already proven ever since he won the title in 2020 that he is better than Logano. In my opinion, Elliott is right now a better driver than Logano, and he's gonna prove it once again. He is gonna win the title. He is, in my opinion, better at Phoenix than, you know, Logano, Larson, and Harvick right now, because Harvick at Phoenix is all time. But right now, I'll say if these 4 drivers make it to the championship 4, this will be Elliott's title. I'm not gonna say it's Elliott's title to lose, because, you know, this is the playoffs, anything can happen. Even the regular season champion that had like a big 100 and something points gap before the playoffs even started. I'm not gonna say that it's a guarantee that he'll be the champion, but as of the making of this video, he is by far the odds-on favorite for me. I'm not gonna say this is his title to lose, but right now I'll give him a better chance to win than either Larson, Logano, or anybody else. So yeah, that's my take on these playoffs, and goodbye.